to watch is part 1 of 2 of my 2018 reflection. And my 2018 reflection, I went through all of my weekly reflection documents and created a huge document that has ended up being 40, almost 50 pages. And I did a video about it, and it ended up being almost 2 hours long, so I decided to split it up. So you're going to be seeing part 1 right now of that, or hearing part 1 of that if you're on audio. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. It's going to be covering wins, what worked, what didn't, what I put off that I want to get done in the next year, and potentially where I grew the most, or that I might include that in part 2. We'll see. Anyways, I hope you enjoy it, and let me know what you think. It is 9:39 a.m. on December 30th, 2018. And I am like genuinely nervous to do this right now. I've been putting this way too much on a pedestal, and yeah, I've noticed I was just very attached to it. It's reducing as time goes on thanks to energy work and affirmation. Not even affirmation, more like me journaling and trying to rewire my brain, which worked somewhat. Yeah, so the format's going to change a bit. It's not going to be the exact same as usual reflections, but it'll be good. So with things like, I think All My Mind is being removed, Obsessed will be removed, and I think I might add quality of life stuff, and yeah. So we'll see how this goes, and I might not explain everything, and I might do a lot more point form and list kind of things, because I have 47 pages to cover here in one episode versus the normal like 5, 6, 7 type of thing. So it's a lot different, and I'm just going to experiment. I'm probably going to fall on my face in some areas, and we'll continue. We'll get back up. We'll try again. So appreciate you watching, appreciate you listening, and let's get right into it. What were my favorite wins? Start off with NIMSEM, shall we? And NIMSEM, if you're not aware, is non-material source energy medicine. And this is the energy work I am practicing with and that I've been training with since January 1. So anyways, part 1 and part 2 of that training was 2 massive wins, I think. And in addition to that, all the sessions I've done on myself and others, and I want to do even more next year and in different ways, but I'm appreciating what I've done so far. By the way, it's very hard for me to appreciate my wins. You might notice this during this bit. So it's a blessing and a curse because it makes you want to do more, but it also is just tough for me to appreciate what I've done, and it's always like, I should have done more, I could have done more type of thing. So related to that, the NIMSEM tracker, which I recently finished, that's been very helpful, and that'll lead us into coding stuff. And I'll talk about, so I finished the joshmoxey.com MVP, which finished that back in like June or whatever, and now just recently finishing, or close to finishing up, the redesign for joshmoxey.com, which is going to make it look so much better. And yeah, throughout all this, I've become very comfortable with React and Redux, so that's a win in itself. And going from barely knowing what the fuck I'm doing, I didn't even touch Redux actually in 2017, so this is completely new this year. Learning React and Redux, which is a JavaScript, I think it's a library for both. But these things are fucking incredible and have completely upgraded the way I code. And it's been a lot of fun with that. So with coding, the Infinity website, which is like done, I just haven't actually uploaded it. Lists, most of everything in lists basically, except for the archive, the functionality for lists and cards. So that should be up soon, the private beta. All sorts of mini tools that I created with, and then there's all types of mini components that not even mini, it can be large components as well, that I worked on within these projects. Yeah, there's just too much to cover in that area, there's so many like things that are working together. Authentication with React, that was a pain in my fucking ass, but I'm glad I did it. Building APIs, my first APIs, and actually I don't know about first APIs, but like first proper APIs, if you will. I also covered Moxey Energetics Foundation and the foundational work around that. So that is the most general thing, but it varies between things, and I could have done more, but I'm going to recognize what I did do. As for podcasts, we have 50 fucking episodes. I think this is the 50th episode there should be. And that's a little awesome. I know I could have done more with this. So it's like, come on, you could have done more. You could have been more consistent, but it's just the truth. Could have done more. The Josh Moxey Journey rebrand. So that was a good thing. All of the designs I worked on in terms of content, there's a shit ton of design work that goes into all this. Reflections consistently every week since September. And restarting that has been really helpful for keeping me consistent with content. And yeah, it's just been really good. It actually might have even been in August, but damn, like it's been very fucking helpful. Launching JMR and almost done gems, and that's almost ready to go. Within JMR, the IGTV, that was one of my favorite designs I created all year. That came out really fucking cool, and it continues to get better. As for health, I finished up P90X3, my third run with that earlier in the year, and then I decided to try out with lifting weights, and lifting weights has become this amazing thing for me. I love it so much. And I've been doing Greek God by Greg O'Gallagher, and that's been since the end of April. And since then, working out has been fucking amazing. I love it so much. So in addition to like all the training that went into it, having the calories tracked, having the macros tracked, making sure I'm always at a surplus, and everything that just goes into that, super fucking helpful. So in that aspect, I went from 105 pounds times 5 in April to 160 pounds times 5, which is a 55 pound increase on my bench. And but recently I've been like going lower on weight so I can pause at the bottom of my sets and be more, or reduce the ego in order to improve the strength, and hopefully it works. Shoulder press went from 85 pounds times 5, which is standing up with a barbell, to 130 pounds times 5, which is seated, and that's with 65 each. Chin-ups, we've got 20 pounds times 5 to 50 pounds times 5, obviously plus my body weight. My body weight stayed the same at 170 throughout this. Pull-ups, 15 pounds times 4 to 45 pounds times 5, which I recently hit. And Bulgarian split squat, we've got 90 pounds times 6 in May to 135 pounds times 6 presently. So that's good. So as you can see, Greek God is working quite well for me and will continue to grow in the new year. And I'm very excited to see where I'll end up in time for ever after specifically, but then after that, how I do the rest of the year. So I'm very excited for that. What worked? So let's talk about my creative process and problem solving process. They're very similar. It's even the design process as well, because the design process is ultimately just solving a problem. So anyways, it's much better this year. It's much more clarified. So let's just go through it. I have a challenge. I immediately write out the challenge, and this is usually going on in Google Docs, by the way. So I'll have the challenge, write it out, and then from there I'll start listing out possible solutions. Once I have a possible, and I don't judge, I just like write out things, and if I don't have the thing, I keep writing it out until I do have things, and I try out different hybrids of things and different ways of looking at things. I'm not afraid to try something random as fuck on, or at least write something random as fuck down, because it might lead me in a completely different direction. So that's very crucial. In terms of design, if I'm doing something not in Google Docs, maybe I'm sketching instead, I do a very similar process where I like have the box or whatever that I'm designing, and I will draw something, and then if I can't, by the way, somewhere throughout this, if I can't think of ideas, I start looking online to see what other people are doing. And and then I start trying to either improve or like do things a little bit differently, or just like take something from what they're doing that's working and try to work with it. So that's very helpful. And also in terms of that, just trying to like pseudo code as much as possible and trying to outline things as much as possible. And ultimately that, yeah, that's really helped me this year. Using workouts as an escape. Whenever I am feeling too stressed or whatever, this is a great thing for me to just step back. If my brain is overwhelmed, I can step back, just detach for a bit, go listen to a lot of really filthy dubstep and just lift weights. It is an amazing escape for me in terms of finding that outlet, if you will. So that's been very fucking helpful. It's related to that, two ab workouts per week has been very helpful for my abdomen, and I'm liking the way my abs are looking and progressing. So I think 2 has been very fucking helpful for things. Trying to focus on one project at a time. I have been very bad up until recently of trying to do multiple projects at once, and it really has shot me in the foot. So trying to keep all of my energy on one thing and maybe having like a side project, if you will, or 2 if they're like very tiny, that's worked well for me. And those 2 side projects usually are content, and well, reflections falls under content, but so content and then working out are usually my 2 quote unquote side projects, because they do end up taking a decent amount of time still. Being raw and real on social and content. Yeah, I think a lot of people are trying to paint a fucking picture of themselves and make it seem like their life is so much better than it is, and I'm just trying to keep it fucking real over here. And it feels really good. It feels like the right move. The right people vibe with it, and the people who are full of shit usually don't and leave. So that's okay, and it's a good way of purging things. But I know what feels right for me, and this is currently what is feeling the best. Reverse pyramid training. My lord, thank God for this thing. Like, it's been so helpful in helping me improve my gains, quote unquote. And since doing that, since RPT, my strength has gone up so much better, or so much more actually. It's been really fucking cool to watch. I'm very, very grateful for RPT. And in addition to that, things like intermittent fasting and lean bulking, these things have really, really helped to improve my physique and help me get stronger, improve my strength, all that jazz, build muscle mass slowly but surely. And ultimately just working out has become this amazing thing now, and same with fitness and health. So yeah, reducing time consuming things such as baking or watching TV and movies and stuff like that, and all that jazz, like making green drinks. I used to make stuff like that. I'm glad I stopped doing those things and reduced them, because time is of the essence, and I do not want to waste my time on things that don't feel like the right move anymore. Song looping. You guys, if you've been around for long enough, know how obsessed I am with song looping. And at the beginning of the year, I didn't actually care much for song looping. Like, I thought it was a cool concept, but I was like, I don't want to ruin my songs too much. So, but now I am obsessed with looping. I have had recently some of the new songs that I've heard have become instantly in my top 10, because I'm like, I love looping this so much, and it's providing me so much productivity. So I'm like, fuck it, I'll just keep running this loop. Anyways, I love it now. It's so fucking helpful. I can preach it all day long. It is such a productivity hack for me. Instead of trying to design and outline things in my head, really taking the time to pseudocode them on either in Google Docs or in on straight code itself, or sketching things on paper. Like, these 2 things have made my design process, if you will, or creation process so much fucking better. So I'm very grateful for those. Using mornings when I'm in a fasted state as the ideal time to tackle the hardest shit. It's very easy to try to put the hardest stuff later. But if you put the hardest stuff first, for me at least, when I'm in my fastest state, I just enjoy tackling things first thing. So when I'm in that type of mindset, it's ideal to just put the hardest stuff there, and it ends up usually being coding stuff and challenges that I require solving. So just that window is so valuable to me, and I do not want to put anything else there that's not that. It's really like it's helped me move forward in the key areas where I could have otherwise just stayed stuck, but I just put my fucking head down and just work. Continued detachment from likes, comments, and vanity metrics, and instead now focusing on things like impact and how can I help and how can I bring value. And that's also been a big shift with my content as well. It's gone from me documenting before, and that was the pure intent of it all, to now it's about like, how can I help people in real time in addition to documenting? How can I bring people value, whether it's through entertainment, motivation, inspiration, education, life hacks, like it's just a million different ways. And it has to be a part, like I have to be thinking about you, the viewer, in addition to the documenting, in order for it to actually be valuable. Doing energy work on my projects and watching how magically things come to pass, where it's like these blocks that are they're just such big blocks, and then I can't see clearly, and then I will do a session, or I'll have mom do a session on me, and from there on in it's like it vanishes, and I'm presented with the correct answer, so I can push forward with ease instead of trying to bang my fucking head against the wall. It's just it's a very divine process, and that sounds kind of woo-woo, and it is, and guess what? It fucking works. Allowing myself to break things off that are not working anymore, or to pause things a little bit. So intermittent fasting, I decided now it's a good time to pause things for raves. So there's like a couple festivals a year or whatever, I'll pause intermittent fasting and not try to be so goddamn perfect with things. Keeping my facial hair partially grown out. I like this look. I think that I think I've really increased my looks this year, not gonna lie. So that's worked for sure. Meditation and trying to do this as much as possible. I've really enjoyed meditation this year. It's something that has more recently especially become this very crucial thing in my day, and I feel it's noticeably different if I do not meditate, I find. So this is something that I can feel myself even slipping off with it recently. I had to do a better job of keeping that in the loop because it's fucking crucial to the mindset. Gamification of a shit ton of things. I just love creating games. I'm very competitive in nature, so really taking the time to make everything a win or a loss, and setting rules up, building rules so that I can win, making sure the rules are fairly placed, all that shit. Adjusting rules if I know they're not working. It's very all key to the way I operate in life. Channeling sexual energy into progress. So yeah, we all have this energy. It's just what we choose to do with it that counts. And it's an amazing source of energy and fuel, and I choose to leverage it because it's powerful as fuck. Cutting my hair and removing that identification I had with my long hair, and blonde hair for that matter. Yeah, it's been cool to restart, and I think I look a lot better with my current hair than I did with my shaved hair, but I had to go through that process, and I think I'll look even better likely with my super long hair when it grows out. Thankfully though, have this hat so I can this beanie, so I can it can look less bad in the awkward transition phase, because it's gonna get way too long soon before the bun, and then before that bun is just an awkward stage, so I'll have to figure out how I'm gonna do that. But my current plan is beanie life. Allowing myself to go downstream rather than trying to go upstream all the time. It's been a different process to try to let myself, quote unquote, allow rather than banging my fucking head against the wall. both can work. I feel like downstream works a lot better though, and you're a lot happier with downstream. So that's been something that I've been trying to integrate all year, and continued progress on that. And yeah, feels a lot nicer. Feels like the move, though I don't think a lot of people see that correctly. Not trying to be anything on camera. This is an ongoing journey, and yeah, I think it was tougher early on in the year, but now I'm being okay with just like recording whatever is, and it's felt right. Even right now, like, I'm fucking high as a chimney on caffeine, I guess. What am I saying? Anyways, I'm just gonna stick with this. But yeah, so it would be very easy to start playing an act or going into like a character or whatever. Fuck that. I just want to stay who the fuck I am, what exactly I'm feeling, and just roll with whatever it is. I'm not going to be the most high energy all the time. I'm not going to be the most low energy all the time. I'll kind of just be whatever I am. And being okay with just recording that and getting on camera with that has been a good thing. What didn't work, and how can I improve it? My lack of urgency. I can many times find, here's the thing. Thankfully, I do have my power list every day, so I have some degree of urgency in every single day. But there's so much more I could be doing in urgency land, if that's a place, I guess. And yeah, so I definitely have selective urgency, and I have to work on in the future, figuring out ways of integrating or creating, probably more like creating images in my brain, creating storylines, creating timelines, what have you, that create more urgency in my life, because I do require more of it right now. No dream board, and my vision is not clearly defined in front of me, so that is a big fucking challenge right there. And I feel like actually that's also related to urgency. When I do have that, the urgency kind of kicks in. When I finally finish up lists, which is thankfully close once I fucking finish this archive feature, but after that, I feel like it's going to really help me with my vision, because it'll be like all outlined on this list. So very excited for that. Making close to no money. This has been not helpful at all. This again goes back to urgency and me not applying what I should be applying. I haven't taken the time, and this is also related to another point here, which is like not selling anything. I haven't taken the time to do the action step, which is probably the most important, which is selling something, okay? Selling the solution. And like, I have that solution with NIMSM, and I have not taken the time to apply that correctly, and it's fucking shot me in the foot in that aspect. So this is something I must do going forward in 2018, or 2019 rather. Caring too much about others in my content to the point where it's become challenging for me. So it's become challenging to bring in others in my content, because I'm not trying to start any bullshit, but they are part of my stories. I'm trying not to offend people by saying certain things, and that's also challenging, because I need to just speak my truth instead. I also care about saying certain things, because I know it is going to trigger people, and there's just been a lot of caring about like what people will think about my content or say about my content, and it holds me back from saying certain things. So this is a continued process, and I'm not perfect, but I have gotten a lot better, so I'm grateful for that, and I've become much more authentic with my content. And again, it is a challenge. It is a struggle. I'm putting in the fucking reps, so it gets easier all the time, but it still is the case. Judging myself, judging others, judging the world, it is such a bullshit use of energy and time. I'm not a fan of it at all. It is ideal to avoid judgment at all costs. Like, what the fuck do we know? And that's been also a big theme. Like, what do I know? What does anyone know? So we're all just fucking trying to figure it out on this earth, and no one knows fucking anything. We're all just on our own little journey, and yeah. And obviously people know shit. I know stuff. Other people know stuff. the world knows stuff, but there's so many variables. It's ridiculous that it's not so binary like that. Too much use of personal social media. So social media in a business sense, I'm a big fan of, but in a personal sense, it is not the greatest thing to use in my point of view. So I've been using it just too much in that aspect, whether it's like DMs or texting, or, well, that's texting's not really social, but whatever. Or just like overall this consumption. I don't feel amazing when I'm consuming, so that is something that I would like to reduce going forward and keep it more business based. And also related to that, taking business more seriously. I did not take it seriously enough this year. I focused too much on non-business things and my finances suffered accordingly. So overthinking things and being afraid to say and do things that I want to do for fear of rejection, for fear of judgment, for anything that could be potentially negative. So yeah, pretty self-explanatory, I think, but it's a very problematic behavior that must be resolved, because yeah, if I don't, I end up resenting the other party. So that is very crucial that I put myself first in that aspect. Because I have a good intention around what I'm doing, things may take longer than I might expect to end well, but I feel like they will always end well. Doing the right thing is the right thing, and if they don't take it the way I intended, well, that's just a shame. But I knew in my gut that I had the right intent, so that should end well in my books. Letting my power list take so fucking long. So yeah, this is annoying as fuck when I do this, but if I let it go way too late, it starts fucking up my sleep schedule, and then I end up going to bed way too fucking late, which is by itself another annoying thing that happened this year, which is waking up way too late in the day and then going to bed way too late as well. So many times I would wake up at 11 a.m. on and go to bed at like 4 or 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. on. So it's been an interesting year, thankfully, trying to figure things out right now with the way I'm resetting my sleep schedule. But yeah, it's been interesting being such a night owl and trying to also change that. So going forward, it's much better if I take the time to really put a correct power list, because sometimes I can make it way too fucking big and then it just becomes draining and this unfun thing. Andy has said that he makes his power lists, I think an hour is the thing. If it takes you longer than an hour, you're fucking up type of thing. Well, guess what? Mine takes way longer than an hour because I put tasks sometimes down there are just 1 hour on themselves. So that's I really wish they had more mastery content of the power list, because I do want to learn more, and I've been doing it for how many years now, and there's still so much more that I can get, and would love if that happened. By the way, power list, so this is MFCEO 107 episode, I think it is, Win the Day, and you can check that out at the MFCEO project, their podcast, and you can learn exactly what the power list is. By the way, the caffeine is really kicking in right now. I can really feel it. No chief aim that's clear, not thinking about my vision enough, and not really giving enough effort. Yeah. Around ever after, there was a lot of lack of presence for me. I was very attached to the festival. I put it super on a pedestal. So going forward, that is not going to be the case. I'm trying to think about it more objectively and more like in the Marcus Aurelius fashion, which is like a group of human beings all standing around watching and listening to a person on a stage, which is ultimately something that is higher on the it is higher up, and they're pressing buttons and different sounds are coming out each time they press a button. Like, when you think about that, a music festival does not seem that exciting. Granted, I still fucking love them, but they're they're not they're not as like life-changing or as incredible as we all make them out to be, even though they are a lot of fucking fun. And reminder that like there's life outside festivals. Like when that festival is only fucking one weekend. When that weekend's done, we have to go back to our regular lives. So like, what are we doing in our regular lives? Like, I try to make my regular life more fun than a festival. And not even more fun. It's just like my regular life is much more fulfilling than a fucking music festival. So I feel like this is something that everyone should strive for, because it's very fucking crucial that our lives outside of these things are much better, so we don't value them too much. Becoming very, very tired midday. That's not worked at all. I need to figure out ways of, whether it's maybe taking a nap or whether it's a mental tiredness, so I need to like reset with just taking a break or meditating or whatever. When I do those things though, it's very fucking helpful. So whatever the case is, it requires fixing badly. Shallow breathing. Many times I can just forget to breathe deep, and this is typically what goes on. And even I think right now I'm forgetting to breathe deeply, and it feels nice as I just did. But it manifests in many ways, like stress, anxiety, and stuff like that. So, and even I feel more inclined to think in pessimistic ways when I'm not breathing deeply. So, oh my God, that period where I was super lazy before Ever After-ish. No, it was around Ever After. I just wasn't, I don't know, I just didn't have the same drive and stuff like that as usual. It was very strange. I think it lasted like 4 months or whatever. After August, I think I just turned back into a machine, and then it's been good ever since. But before that, it was very like, oh man, it was very weird going through that like period where I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with my life in terms of like that challenge. I'll touch on this more later, but that was very, very challenging. Procrastination definitely does not work, and I always regret every time I do. So just doing things in its proper time is absolutely the way. Having ideas and not executing them, even though I really want to. So things like lists, gems, the quote expansion series, which you'll probably see in 2019 for my podcast, things like this. I can have all the ideas in the world, but if I don't take the time to execute them, they're fucking pointless. And on a slightly related note to that, learning things and not applying them, same thing. Like, you can learn all the things in the world, but if you don't apply them, it's useless fucking information in your brain. So the key is execution and application, because they are what make things happen. Period. End of story. Oh my God. Mindlessly thinking and like not taking the time to consciously thought loop and take control of my thinking when I'm like, whenever I let myself just aimlessly think, that always ends in very purposeless thoughts, and then I end up just feeling like shit ultimately with enough time. So taking control is the fucking way. Oh, being really shitty at introducing what I do and explaining my work. That requires fixing for sure. It's such an important line, and for some reason I just haven't taken the time. I've been super resistant to crafting that ideal, quote unquote, like elevator pitch for me and my work. So that is something I definitely should focus on going forward. And related to that, holding back conversationally because I don't want to touch certain topics. And work is one of those topics that I've been resistant to talking about recently, because I feel some insecurity around that because I haven't done certain things. So yeah, anyways, that is again something that, like, why am I holding myself back in that aspect? Why don't I just say fuck you to that fear and enjoy that conversation and let it go wherever it wants to go, and take it wherever it wants to go, depending on who is leading what. But yeah, making strategies and plans and these type of amazing documents and then forgetting about them or not implementing them, it's such a fucking waste of time. But Granted, it does clarify things a lot in my mind, but I know I can maximize my potential even more if I am reminding myself of these things, if I'm revisiting it and ultimately applying it, because that is what it's there for, right? Trying to be subtle instead of being direct, that just does not work, and I've learned that quite quickly. I am a direct person, and that is the way I should approach things. Accepting invites to things I don't want to go to, or struggling to say no. This has been annoying as fuck for me because I end up just regretting saying yes. So very, very crucial to keep in mind going forward that this is a pattern for me and I have to change that badly. Holy fuck, my brain right now is going haywire. I didn't even drink that much coffee. I don't understand what's going on right now. Being behind in content and reflections. This has been driving me up the fucking wall. I really dislike being super behind on this. I'm 4 episodes behind right now on reflections and probably 8 to 10 episodes back on the podcast. Don't like it at all. And it all fucking came from me being lazy as fuck from Montreal. Yeah, on the October trip. I just have never gotten caught up since then. So, dislike. I actually, even from the start of reflections, I don't think I've ever been properly caught up. And I miss that feeling of being caught up that I did achieve a couple times in the year. Trying to not offend people in my podcast. This is such a dumb thing that I do. It requires absolute change ASAP. And yeah, I mean, people are going to judge. It is just the case, but I'd rather be fucking real about things and not try to pander to the crowd, quote unquote. So, and when I do offend people, guess what? It's purging the audience. Not purging. Is it purging? I don't know what the fuck it is. Whenever I recruited or did form incorrectly in my workouts, that's not working. Like, I am only cheating myself. It's such an ego thing when I do that. So even recently I'm trying to improve my form and being okay with stepping back a little bit in the weight in order to hit the muscle even harder. So it's very, very fucking helpful for me. Related to that as well is like having no mirror is very problematic at times because I am just guessing on what the form feels like. Granted, I can feel it when it's hitting properly, but it's much better if I can have that mirror to help guide me so I can hit it faster, hit the correct form faster. So, randomly stopping content. Like there was periods where I went a month or 2 months without posting on the podcast or on my social. I spent so much time not posting on my social. And in a day and age where branding, personal branding is so important, this is something I cannot sleep on like I have. Yeah. I mean, even recently I've taken a fucking 1.5 gap on social media in terms of posting on Instagram Classic, which is so irritating. Granted, thankfully I'm still doing stories, but like, come on, Josh. It's a 1.5 months. That's so ridiculous. Not surrounding myself with enough people who have what I want and have been where I am. I've got to do a better job of this. I am the average of my 5 best friends or the 5 people I associate with most, and I've got to bring up that 5 even fucking more. It is such an important concept to me. And I think it's pretty good right now, but I know it can get even better. So looking to do that in the forward year would be very fucking important to prioritize. Not recording enough, man. Like I so often will let myself convince myself of the fact that, oh, if I'm not going to post it, I'm not going to record it, which is a really limiting thought right there. Cause I do like the act of documenting, even if it's just to like a private drive for me so I can look at it down the road. It's so cool. That's like the awesome part about documenting. I don't need to post everything, but just getting on camera. And I might have a fucking gold episode in one of these that I can post down the road. But the act of just putting in the reps of talking on camera, that is where these awesome episodes come from. And I've just got to do a better job of going forward, making sure I don't overthink things and just get the fuck on camera. Like I don't have to post it, and that's okay. What have I put off that I wanted to get done? I'm just going to quickly list through a few of these and we'll see how it comes out. micro content vault and having a backup of that at all times. Doing more muscle testing training so I can get clearer answers and be less egotistical about things. Thought looping, visualization, list MVP, the private beta launched, gems, radio up to date, yoga, definitely have punted that recently. I need to get that back on track. I haven't really been good since Ever After, which is in June. Imagining myself as a movie, doing a better job of reaching out to potential clients and DMing them, and also being okay with selling. Downloading songs I can only get on Apple Music, or I can only get on SoundCloud to Apple Music. Paying back certain debts. Micro vlogs and powerless vlogs, and making the debut of those or return. Well, okay, I did do a powerless vlog this year, but you guys just never saw it. Midday meditation, nap, and optional reset with coffee. Oh, multiple dream boards. Can't wait for that. Keeping a list of compliments consistently and revisiting it frequently. JoshMoxey.com redesign and the new page and new section page, and yeah, all types of videos I've been putting off on specific topics. Making more time for worst case scenario, fear setting, and other practices like this. Revisiting Power of Now and Your Wish is Your Command. Quote expansion podcasts and hack type of podcasts, meaning like life hacks. Going for 4 podcasts per week, that'd be amazing if I can pull that off. Adding thinking time into my week. Listening to Sapiens. Studying my content and studying people like Gary and Andy and Tim's content. Upgrading my power list rules. That's an interesting one. I can't wait for that. Ladies and gentlemen, you have just finished part 1 of my yearly reflection for 2018 specifically. I hope you got some nuggets. I hope you got some tactics, some mindsets, yeah, things you can apply in your life, and I hope you do apply them because that's where all the magic lies. And if you found inspiration, if you found motivation, education, what have you, entertainment, if it was enough value for you, please do me a favor, and if you felt it earned it, give me a like, a comment, a rating, a subscribe/follow, or whatever the hell it is, wherever you are, and also a rating if you're on podcast, if you felt it earned it, all that kind of jazz. So anyways, I hope to catch you in part 2, because that is another full episode of gold. So anyways, my name is Josh Moxey, and I will catch you later.